Welcome to the first interview in our series recognizing former women's athletes, coaches, and administrators from CCIW Institute. My name is Mike Krizman, and I serve as the CCIW's Assistant Executive Director. This series is part of the CCIW's 75th anniversary celebration, and we kick things off today, February 3rd, on National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Joining us is Liesl Fowler, Assistant Dean and Registrar from Augustana College. Liesl is a 1991 Augustana College graduate and a former women's volleyball student athlete. She went on to serve as the program's head coach from 1992 to 2002, winning conference titles in 1996 and 2001, as well as being named the 2001 CCIW Coach of the Year. She accumulated the program's best collegiate coaching record at 222 and 138 for a winning percentage of 621. She served as Augustana's Director of Women's Athletics and the Physical Education Department Chair for 6 years, before starting her current role as the college registrar in August of 2004. 3 years later, Assistant Dean was added to her title. Liesl, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So when the CCIW began sponsoring women's athletics in 1986, you were part of the conference's first women's athletics contest. Just tell me about your memories from that day.
Yeah, so just to be completely honest, as an 18-year-old joining a collegiate program in the very first fall of your academic and athletic career, I'm not sure the fact that we were joining the CCIW was weighing on me particularly. As I look back, for sure, I'm really proud to be a part of that. I do know that sort of being, I wouldn't say I was a Title IX baby, but I was maybe a Title IX infant. I kind of came along right after Title IX was, a big part of things. And so I got to see the benefits of that in my high school experience and for sure in college. So the fact that, the conference decided to, join women's athletics at the time where I was able to benefit from that was a pretty special thing.
So what made you go into coaching after your playing days were done, and what do you miss most about that time in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. Coaching actually wasn't part of my sort of life plan. As I came into college, I really was undecided, like a lot of students are. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I found teaching as a path that I think fit pretty well for me. And so the opportunity to sort of pair some coaching with that kind of came late. I did some junior high coaching when I was student teaching, more just out of sort of a willingness to help. And I really found a passion for that. And then very early on, after I graduated, only a year later, the opportunity to step in and take over the program was afforded to me. And it was sort of a fortuitous, kind of serendipity kind of thing. The school that I was with cut all their first year teachers and the position opened up at Augie. And so it was more of a chance happening than anything else, but I'm so glad that it did because coaching continues to be part of my life today. As far as what I miss, I definitely miss those interactions with student athletes, the opportunity to learn about their lives, help form, themselves into young women and see what they do next, I think are the things I miss the most. When I was able to make a transition out of coaching for, my family and personal life, there definitely was a hole there. I think that very much, that really engaging with young women was missing. And so I got involved in a lot of kinds of youth activities. I started volunteering with the Girl Scouts and other things to kind of fill that hole. As my son approached junior high, however, there was a men's program, boys club that was forming in the Quad Cities, and I was able to rejoin it then. And since he's left high school, I'm now actively involved in a local club, participating as a coach for the Quad Cities program Iowa Select Club.
Great. So when you became the women's athletics director, how did you balance coaching and being an athletics administrator?
Yeah, that was definitely a challenge. That was an era when we still had two athletic directors, one for the men's program and one for the women's program. Definitely had its advantages because I was there just to really focus on our women's team. So from that aspect, that definitely was an advantage. I was fortunate to have a great partner in Greg Wallace on the men's side, and we worked quite well together. But we both were still coaching, full-time head coaches of our programs. He was the baseball coach while I was the volleyball coach. And it absolutely was a challenge, having to take off that coaching hat and put on that administrator hat and, look my colleagues in the eye and make some tough decisions. But Augustana was extremely supportive of that. I had amazing colleagues that I worked with, and it worked really well for the time period that we still had two athletic directors.
Sure. So looking back on your now 30-year career, 35 if you count your time as a student, what was it about Augustana that kept you there in some way or another? I know you talked about your time as a local teacher, but you've been involved with Augustana now since 1986. So what's kept you there?
I think it's what's kept me here is probably what keeps a lot of people at any small, private liberal arts college or any of the schools in the CCIW for sure. And that is sort of just this deep interest in our students as people and as students first. And then honoring and making it available for them to continue to be passionate and involved in the sport that they love. And that's very true at Augustana. It was just, a happen chance that I was able to transition and stay at Augustana out of athletics at the time that the registrar was retiring. And I think that those skills that I learned not only as a student, as at Augustana, as far as, time management as a student athlete, that's just top priority, and organizational skills. Those are things I still use today, 30 some years later. And I think that's probably true at all of our CCIW schools and, places where, the student comes first.
Any advice you would offer for the current Augustana women's student athletes?
I think they could probably provide me about as much good advice as I could provide them. The world of sport has changed so much since then. I wouldn't say I was actually recruited very much to play. I did have contact from the coach, but it was more of that opportunity, and the world of athletics has just changed, particularly for women. The only thing I would say is enjoy every moment. Make sure you have balance in your life, that you're making the most of your college experience and enjoying all those things outside of the class and outside the court that you possibly can. And if you're making your decision about where to go to school, make sure that you're making it for all the right reasons, not just for one reason.
And just lastly, coaching is still coaching no matter what era is in. Did you have any advice for any current women's student athletes that are interested in a career in coaching or athletics administration?
Yeah, I think, go in with your eyes wide open. It's an enormous time commitment, but I think that you will get back as much as you put in. I certainly have to say that the person I am today is shaped very much by the young women that I had the opportunity to coach over the years.
Well, Liesl, I want to thank you very much for your time today, and wish you all the best in your career at Augustana.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.